Hello, Kamen Rider fans, and welcome back to Toku Topics. So, I don't do this, I guess, as frequently as I do for the Super Sentai Trademark series that I do every year. But for the last couple of years, I believe I did it for Gotchard, and I think I did it for Geets, and I definitely did it for Gavv. We've talked about the Kamen Rider Trademark whenever it's been revealed or leaked by the ever so really helpful Trademark bot on Twitter, the only official account we can really trust these to come from. And well, we have it from the official Trademark bot. It's just very early. So historically we have gotten Kamen Rider trademarks in May. I remember it always happening towards the end of the school year. I remember right before graduation sitting on my computer in my media class when we got the 01 trademark and stuff like that back in May of 2019. And we've always kind of had it around May and June, right? And well, it's not that. It's not May and June. So here at the end of March, or kind of middle March, we have the trademark for the 7th Reiwa era Kamen Rider series, which is going to be known as Kamen Rider Zetz, or Kamen Rider Zetsu, something like that. So it's a weird name. It's spelled Zezztz, so there's 3 Z's in there, and that definitely can be a little kind of tongue twisty, kind of hard to pronounce every single time. And this is not just for Kamen Rider, although I will say Kamen Rider typically has the more easier to pronounce names right off the bat, but especially with Sentai, since you have a whole new name before the Sentai part. Like number 1 Sentai was pretty easy, or like Bakuage Sentai was also kind of easy, but sometimes it's sort of not. I'm not really sure how to pronounce certain names of the trademarks right away, but for Kamen Rider, it's always going to be just a one-word thing you got to try to figure out how to pronounce. Like Gavv, for example, is written G-A-V-V, so a lot of people pronounce it Gavv and stuff like that. So when you see Z-E-Z-T-Z, you're probably like Zetzy, something like that. But from my buddy Matt and what the katakana says and everything, or the kanji, it's pronounced Zetz or Zetsu. Now, that sort of gives us kinda a bit of an indication of what we could maybe expect, because for Kamen Rider names, it's always a matter of how much do you read into it, right? Like 01, what could that possibly have meant right off the bat? Saber, pretty self-explanatory. We were able to kind of figure that one out. Then you had things like Gotchard, which kind of has card in there. Gabbu, we know because the Gabbu revolver was biting or snacks or food, that kind of thing. So when you get Zeztz, it sort of makes me think of the Japanese word Zetsu, which is extinction, and kind of harkens back to 01 with the Zetsumarizer and the Zetsumarize keys for the Magia and stuff like that. So it does kind of seem like maybe that's what it's leaning into, but it's impossible to know exactly what to expect here. Now, while the trademark is early, and it very much is, it's not super surprising, because we do know from last year that Gavv started actually filming in March of 2024, and the trademark still came out in May of 2024, and then we had we still followed the typical reveal officially in July, show premiered in September, that whole kind of thing. So because of that, we know that Zetz is most likely filming right now, if not very, very soon. So because of just how this works, and we also know that Sentai is starting to do that too. We know that number 1 Sentai, Gojuger, started filming much earlier than a typical Sentai would have started. So I would actually now at this point maybe expect about a 2-month earlier trademark for Sentai as well, which would put that at the July-ish time frame. So we'll see if that ends up panning out for the 50th Super Sentai season. But back to Kamen Rider, we have the trademark now, which does make sense if the filming has begun in March, and if this is our new tradition of how the filming schedule works. But that also kind of brings into question what's going on with Gavv, right? And I don't want to spend too much of this video talking about Gavv, because, that's not the point of the video, but it just kind of works out that literally today, and I'm going to put up on the time right now on the screen, that I'll be talking about spoilers till that time. We got the sketches from the reliable leakers of Gavv's final form, which we know is a 2-part final form called Over and Master Gavv, something like that. I guess it's like a Kachidoki Kiwami sort of thing, but not really as far apart in terms of debut, because we know that Gavv's final form is coming out in May this year, because of the toy listings instead of June. So that's already an earlier thing for Kamen Rider there. And there is this one thing that was mentioned from TTFC, that there's going to be this cast farewell thing, which might be a Golden Week thing or something for the Gavv cast happening in May. So there are some potential possibilities and signs that Gavv might actually end earlier than a typical Rider series does. It doesn't sound like it's going to end in like May or June, but maybe the show ends in like July or something, right? Because we also know that there's stuff in the toy line for June, like Vlam's Power Up and stuff like that. So Gavv's not going to end any earlier than like May or June, but maybe it ends like a month earlier before we get Zetz, and maybe that explains why we have the trademark for Zetz 2 months earlier than we would have expected it. So just kind of throwing out there, you know, some speculation on some things. The sketches for Master and Over Gavv look pretty cool. We also have a sketch of what the Gochizo looks for. It's like this Gochizo you like kind of flip upside down. It's very reminiscent of the Gates Revive Ride Watch, the hourglass thing where it's like one form when you have it one way, the other form the other one. So, but anyway, I just wanted to say that because since Gavv's final form stuff is starting to leak now, and we know that that's coming early, it might kind of point to Zetz coming early and the Trademark is coming early. We're still getting our typical Kamen Rider like leak to reveal to being our norm kind of pattern that we get every year. Like the tradition patterns are still following and holding. They're just kind of happening earlier than we expect. It's like the entire timeline for everything is just bumped up by about 2 months, but we're still following everything the way that we typically do. And from what we understand, the reason why that's been happening is because they're trying to, or Toei's trying to branch out in releasing Kamen Rider in other markets, specifically China. And for the censors in China and stuff like that, they need the episodes like ahead of time, more of ahead of time or something like that. So they have to film earlier and, you know, all this kind of stuff. So that is what happened with Gavv and with Gojuger, and that does now seem to be the standard for when we start production on these shows in March instead of like May. So so it does make sense to want to have the trademark locked in before you start filming the show. So I'm glad, I'm not glad, but I guess that explains why that's happening. So anywho, that is the 2025 to 2026 trademark for Kamen Rider. We also have the logo. I forgot to mention that, which that's also very early. We usually get the logo trademark like a month after we get just the name trademark, but the trademark bot tweeted both of them out, which was very surprising actually. So yeah, I did want to mention that we have the logo for Zetz as well. So let me know down in the comments below. Do you think Zetz? Do you think that's going to lean into the more extinction thing, if that's to be believed, and what would that even mean? Is that like a prehistoric animal themed rider series or something? What could it possibly be? Is it, you know, Zetz, the way it's kind of spelled, like is Zazzy Beats in this show? That's a dumb joke, but just something that made me laugh about it, because the first thing I saw when I saw the name, I'm like, Zazzy Beats, Kamen Rider Zazzy Beats. But anywho, let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of the news we have for Kamen Rider Zetz? Zetz, yep, I almost said Zetz and just left it there. But yeah, can't believe we're already on our 7th Reiwa era series. That's crazy. And also, like, I mean, I feel like every year where these just happen quicker and quicker, because we just, like, Gavv just started, right? Like, I mean, I know it didn't, but it feels like it did, and this is going to be our 3rd Rider series after Geats. Like, that makes me feel ancient. I graduated from college when Geats was on. That's not cool. But anywho, yeah, I'm rambling now. I'm going to start ending my videos by kind of just rambling while the Patreon and member credit thing is, like, scrolling on the screen. And hey, look at that. I uploaded a video in March. I needed to, so yay! Follow me on Twitter. Goodbye.